Other news coming from Rome at Pope Francis is that he's recently approved the canonization of two modern-day popes, Blessed John the 23rd and Blessed John Paul II. Mm-hmm. In fact, we have details in this report from Diane Dunnigan. Let's watch.
Pope Francis approved the attribution of a second miracle to Pope John Paul II. In addition, Pope Francis sidestepped church tradition by approving sainthood for Pope John the 23rd without a second miracle being attributed to his intercession. Blessed John the 23rd is affectionately known as the Good Pope. He was passionate about equality and had a major impact on the Church by convening the historic Second Vatican Council.
Well, John the 23rd was the surprise pope of the 20th century. He was elected basically to be the do-nothing pope. He was elderly, and they needed some time to pick who they really wanted. Well, he turned out to be the best listener to the Holy Spirit, and he convened the Second Vatican Council, which created a tremendous upheaval, but also called the Church to greater fidelity, called lay people into the life of the Church in a more integral way. And ironically, Cardinal Sunens, who was one of the great minds of the Second Vatican Council, at the end of the council, he proposed that there be an acclamation to declare John the 23rd a saint, because he had already died by the end of the council. And all those fathers were so aware that this was a special man, that he had been chosen by the Holy Spirit. And so finally, one of the unaccomplished tasks of the council will be achieved when he's finally declared a saint.
While Blessed Pope John the 23rd served for less than 5 years, Blessed Pope John Paul II led the Church for more than 26 years, the second longest-serving pope in history. He was known for his travels, visiting more than 120 countries during his pontificate. One of his papal trips was here to Chicago in 1979. A great exhibit that includes keepsakes from that visit can be found at the Polish Museum of America at 984 North Milwaukee Avenue.
Before he passed on, a good friend of the museum, Bishop Abramovich, was also a good friend of the Pope, and who hosted him when he came to the United States at Five Holy Martyrs, donated many artifacts that he had received from the Pope. So we have a very nice collection of papal memorabilia. We also have a lot of artifacts and photographs of the 3 visits, twice as cardinal and once as pope, that appeared in the Polish paper, and that of course many of our museum members donated later to us because they took private pictures or had artifacts that were connected with the Pope.
Chicago Bishop Andrew Vipik was ordained a deacon by then Cardinal Karol Wojtyła and credits the future pope with inspiring him to become a priest.
When we talk about Bishop being a bridge, he was a bridge between the Lord and the people. That's how I saw him at the time and the inspiration that it came. And then obviously as a seminarian, I had the opportunity to meet him and just confirm my expectations or my imagination about him as a great a person and holy man.
At the Polish Museum of America, the canonization of Pope John Paul II is seen as a point of pride for all Catholics.
Such a great symbol and a great hero to not only the immigrant population in Chicago, Polish immigrant population, but to those of us that have been here for a generation or two. I myself am a post-World War II immigrant with my parents. I was born in a displaced persons camp. But he is a wonderful symbol of hope to so many other nationalities and remains that way. I think that is what is so striking about this man. And the joyfulness of his pontificate, plus the becoming blessed John Paul II, and now on a fast track to sainthood, is an absolutely stellar and amazing thing for so many of us around the world.
2 of the most influential popes of the 20th century, Blessed John Paul II and Blessed John the 23rd, now just a few months away from becoming saints. For the Church, the Cardinal and You, I'm Diane Dunnigan.
Cardinal George, 2 saints, both popes, both modern day. What significance, if any, is there to this? Why now? Why both of them modern day popes?
Well, they were both coming along in the path towards sainthood. I think there is the requisite miracle, second miracle for John Paul II, and the present Pope has decided they didn't need the second miracle for John the 23rd because of the reputation of sanctity that is so clearly there among people. So it's not new that they're going to be canonized. It is now, though, as you say, and why together? And I don't want to second guess Pope Francis. I think it's a good gesture. It shows the continuity of the papal magisterium. You know, a lot of people have good popes, bad popes in their own imagination. But in fact, the Pope is the Pope is the Pope. And why saints? I mean, they're different styles, certainly, but the substance is the deposit of faith that's handed on from one generation to the next. And the Pope watches that no matter who he is. That we should find more saints, perhaps, among popes in modern times is because we've been liberated from the civil responsibilities that the Pope had for so many years, so many centuries, when they were, in fact, the civil rulers of central Italy. Well, that involved them in a lot of things that weren't always saintly. And so now the office is a little more purified than it used to be. And well, I'm sure there were saints among the popes who were also kings. It's a lot harder to canonize a king than it is a bishop. Well, I'm not sure about that. At least a pope, anyway, the Bishop of Rome.
Well, certainly both of these, Blessed John Paul and Blessed John the 23rd, both of them beloved.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes they're different people, but nonetheless both beloved.
True. And certainly, as we saw on that tape, connection, not unconnected to the communities here in Chicago.
Absolutely.
Polish community with John Paul II. Well, certainly something to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, the Poles are particularly proud of him, but John Paul II was a universal man. He was a pope, there's no question about it, as was John the 23rd. And that's the challenge, that you are the bishop who also has a universal pastorate that is unique. And so thank God we have had very, very good popes in modern times, one after the other, very different. But each of them rose to the occasion. And sometimes they're criticized rightly, and a lot of times they're criticized wrongly. But the purification of our memory takes place also in the canonization process. You begin to sort it out and say, what was he really about? And all of a sudden you see the hand of God at work, because that's what sainthood means. The hand of God was strongly, visibly at work in this man's life.